if you're judging yourself, whether that's a momentary thing or a chronic loop of self-criticism. I'm going to show you how to use curiosity to help you pull yourself out of that, and it can be used to go much deeper to get to what the underlying cause is, if it's an ongoing pattern for you. So the way this looks is I want you to take a moment to just think about one of the ways you typically judge yourself. And it's very likely that you will have some sort of definition, some sort of narrative about it. For example, oh, I'm always a perfectionist. I'm a people pleaser. I'm impatient. And because we have the label and definition, there is a sense that, like, okay, I know what it is, right? I know I'm a impatient person or I'm a people pleaser. And there may be your own little nuances of it, but in that definition, we think, okay, I know what it is, and now how do I fix being a people pleaser? And that's a lot of times the road we go down, right? Like, okay, I'm sort of judging myself, or I've been this kind of people-pleasing perfectionist for so long. What are the techniques? What are the meditations? Who do I need to talk to stop being a people pleaser? Again, it's all based on this definition that's actually from a series of very specific to you behaviors, fears, doubts, right? There's something going on in you that says, okay, if things don't go perfectly, then I expect X, Y, or Z will happen, or it means this about me. The label perfectionist might be a general term, but it doesn't cover what's going on for you. Now, if you start to become curious and interested, what's actually happening in me? What might be some of the history there? What might be driving the force of this particular flavor of fear or shame or aggression that comes up when I'm in those situations? Now, instead of just, I am perfectionist, I am people pleaser, how do I fix that? You're now in a spirit of sort of exploration and self-discovery. So let's take a moment that you might be facing where you can even imagine it, if it's not too stressful for you and you have access to it, a situation where that type of behavior trait or those emotions tend to present themselves. You're in a situation, you feel like, okay, this really needs to be perfect, or I really don't want anyone to be upset with me. You might notice some judgment of yourself, like, oh, here we go again, right? Oh, I wish I wasn't feeling this. And that's fine. Of course you wish you weren't feeling that, right? The question is, how do we use curiosity to actually help instead of just judging ourselves for feeling this way? So the emotions are starting to come up. Now, what I'd like to invite you to do is turn your attention to what's actually happening within you and notice, okay, what are some of it might be thought dominant that you're able to observe, like, oh, if they don't like me, I need them to like me. This is going to be terrible if they don't. You might be more, in tune with how it feels somatically for you. Like, okay, I feel tension in my shoulders. Everything just feels on edge. There might be emotions you're aware of. Like, it's just this fear, this crippling type of anxiety. Like, okay, if they don't like me, everything is going to fall apart. Now, from that, you can start to continue that train of curiosity and first be like, wow, okay, there's something that my nervous system feels is very serious about this. Even just turning your mind to the type of inquiring, like, why is this so serious for me? Not like, oh, it shouldn't be, like, what's wrong with me? But genuine, like, okay, something in me feels like this is a real problem. Let me take that seriously and say, why is it so important? Why is it so critical? Or what's going to happen if this isn't perfect? And again, start to notice some of the responses. It could be body responses, could be thoughts, could be a combination. Some version of, okay, if this doesn't go perfectly, what? I'll be rejected, or like I'll never be invited here again. My whole career is going to fall apart. Everyone's going to find out I'm a fraud, right? Whatever it is for you, it might be pretty intense. But now you can start to become a little sensitive and compassionate to this sense of, okay, what's going on inside me is a very real fear in my nervous system that there's a serious consequence here. And that came from somewhere. That's not just arbitrarily, decided for fun, right? So from that, you're already sort of out of just the hyper judgment, and you're moving into a space of, oh, okay, curiosity. But you can also take that further And if you need, support to work with someone, that's fine. There's different people that can do this to hold that space and ask you these types of questions. But you can still even just play with the idea, right? Of like, okay, where did that come from? Taking it seriously. Where might I have learned that if this doesn't go perfectly, then everything's going to fall apart? Now, that's the beginning of getting the clues and insights to something you can actually process through. Because this is not about just data collecting, right? You will find people who can tell you in articulate detail, like, yeah, okay, well, I'm a perfectionist because when I was a kid, this happened and my parents judged me this way. That's not sufficient to just have a mental answer. That doesn't actually stop the judgment. But to become curious, okay, what's going on there? What is that emotion? How does it feel in my body? How can I process through that, right? And I use things like EFT tapping, and there's all sorts of different therapeutic approaches to help you actually process that. But that is the goal, right? Not just to judge yourself and say, I'm a people pleaser, not just to collect data, but to become genuinely curious about your inner world, which, by the way, is fascinating. As you start to explore it, it's not too hard to become kind of interested in it. Like, whoa, look at all these nuance, this cascade of emotion and thought that presents itself in this way. And you'll find it's always been created to protect you on some level. It's not your enemy. You're not a people pleaser because you're bad or broken or just haven't done enough work on yourself to figure out how to not do that. It's a protective mechanism that needs to be gone through a process where it can now feel safe, feel like it's not necessary to hold that same energy anymore. So there's links in the description, an ebook of mine that goes through this in some different angles and approaches. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But I hope this helps get you out of judgment and into more curiosity, as well as a practical idea of what that looks like. So hope it helps, and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks.